cool. Figured I'd be comfy for this because I've shot some videos, and the first one I shot was like a little long, and then the second one I shot was a little longer, and the intent behind that was originally to get it shorter. So I figured, fuck it, might as well just make a long video saying the things you want to say in a video. So this is going to be a very long format, serious, and you know, I get what is anthological anthology, like telling. So I guess the first thing I want to begin with, there are some older videos on this channel that I'm not super proud of. I don't know what the tone was there. I'm not very proud of them. I am from the aspect of being able to look back at something in my life to, in some way, reminisce on, because there's some funny moments in some of those videos, but in other moments, there's misogyny, there's light homophobia. I don't think there's any racism. Oh no, there is, because there's at one point where I believe Spock talks about you can't beat cancer. No, you can't beat cancer unless you get it. It's only racists will pass. Either way, I just watched them all, so this is 4 a.m. mania for you. This is 4 a.m. mania Ash. So there's just stuff in there that I'm not super happy about. Stuff that I should have just cut out, because of the time period, and because of, at the time being a cis white male, not really understanding much about the world, knowing a bit more than I'd say most, mainly due to the autism, and not really falling for a lot of the things that was trying to be sold. I understood some things, but I did not understand as much as I did now, and as much as I still probably should. I find new shit out every day. Sorry, it's very hard to make eye contact with because when I look directly at it, my eyes look this direction, and I don't know why it's doing that. But no, just stuff I'm not proud of. At one point, or in one video, because I think it's titled "Furry Shaming," and there's a point in where we're all well, I did this and this, and I didn't end up a furry. Which, by the way, that was a fucking lie. Once again, a lot of internalized shit, not really liking myself, having that everything is cringe behavior mentality, growing up around, just nothing but white dudes, who most of which turned out to be actual fucking fascists. So that was a cool little tidbit, and something that was really a wake-up moment for me, of one, when I'd finally fully separated from them, which I think was it was 2019. Was that? No, I think it was no, it was 2019 into 2020, because I had come back from college to visit my hometown, and had met up with a couple of friends from high school, so people I was physically hanging out with, not just virtually over PlayStation calls, and they just were fucking just so shitty to me. And then at one point, a little bit later on, next year, 2021, with a couple of other people from high school who were a different friend group that I thought were chiller, same issue applied, where it was wow, you guys are just horrible men who enforce the patriarchy and are just use ironic racism as a form of justifying actual racism. It was a very eye-opening moment of I'm not doing these things, but I'm hanging out with people who do, or at least you know, tithing myself to them as like, I only get worth as a human by hanging out with these people. So those were cutting away from those groups. Pretty cool, important moments that have just looking back at those old videos. I'm like, thank God I'm not that person anymore, because that person sucked. They weren't horrible. They weren't the absolute worst. They were not great, and the fact that you know, some of my physical appearance still matches what that person was. It hits, especially in a lot of those older videos. My dead name is all over them, so you know, I'll be watching them and enjoying the vibe and all that, and reminiscing and having fun and being like, oh, I do remember when that did happen, and then it's like dead name, and it's just it cuts so deep. And I know there are dead names of people who, some in my life, some not anymore, not through any specific reason aside from people separate and move on and find other people to chill with. But like, I know that their dead names are in there, and I know that it hurts and it hits and it cuts for them. And it's been a big wrestle in my mind for a while of what to do with those videos. I'm going to try to see if there's any way that I can edit them to, because I know there's like a YouTube studio thing, or there was the last time I checked. I haven't looked on YouTube in a while as a creator, just been a viewer for a couple years now. But if there's any way that I can take them out, I will. I gotta remove one from a title, most definitely, because that's like the easiest thing to do. And then one from the description I had to change, which I finally did a while back. And the only reason why I hadn't done it was I forgot the sign in for that YouTube. Whoops. So, but there are things that have changed that, you know, make those videos very sour and very sweet. And, you know, through the conversations I've had with some of the people who would be affected by those videos, the conclusion we come to is there's still a greater part of said video that is more reminiscent and enjoyable than hurting, and reminding us of who we were, reminding me of who I was, that to still keep them up just as an option. I might unlist them at some point and just hand links out to people who I know have said they still go back and watch. But that's for like those videos in specific. For a lot of the ones where it's just me, I think just for the specific one, the Dick Shifter video, for some reason people keep watching that. My dead name's in it. If I can edit it out, I will. I'm proud of that video, despite the people in that video that I don't hang out with, and some of them said fascists I was mentioning earlier. And if any of them are watching the video now, hi, if you're not a fascist anymore, that's cool. You can reach out to me. I don't mind. Just be a better person, hopefully. Because, you know, for the times where it wasn't that, and it was just kind of hanging out, it was pretty cool times. And if it could go back to that, just you not being racist, even better. So that's a nice little throw into a very long video. But yeah, some big things have happened since those videos have been recorded. Even some of the newer ones where, you know, you'll see me in the second place out in Washington that I was living at when I was attending college out there, and had started to broaden my worldview and meet new people not just be living in my parents' house and interacting with my high school friends and people online. And you can see changes, most definitely. Before I had even gone to college, I came out as bisexual. I came out actually to my parents when I graduated, but to friends and people on the internet that I was close to, so friends. I think I was out like maybe like 5 months before then. It had been for a little while because I, was like, damn, I don't kind of really mind who, like, what people got going on. I just would be comfortable around people. But that was a little hard to tell others, especially when you're surrounded by people who make, jokes at the expense of queer people, and even have parents who, were accepting of gay people, but due to them not really having any like interactions or outside knowledge of, except for the media of trans people, would always make little comments, never like super out of the box transphobic, but things where you're like, well, why would you think that, why would you say that? So the point being, around the time that I was 3,000 miles away from my past, and interacting with people from all around both the country and the world, that definitely started to shape me into a different person. A couple months after moving in to the first place that I had moved into, which was like college dorms, but like an apartment. It was very interesting. It was kind of bougie. It was like $750 a month. After moving into there and like living with a furry, having been attracted to a furry, like having a couple of friends who were both like queer and just the varying genders, you start to think some things, because then the things that they tell you and the things they describe to you and the directions they point you in to, answer some questions you have, get you thinking. So it was, I think, around like November 2019. I had smoked a shit ton of weed because I was very stressed, and I was trying to not drink because I developed a bit of a drinking problem. So I was trying to stay off of that, and I was smoking weed that was given to me by a good friend of mine, which I will not say their name for like privacy's sake on their end. I'm not gonna say like anyone's name really specifically outside of my own. Aside from like, I guess, people that have already been in some of my videos that you guys would know about, just to time gate things. That makes sense. So, but it was around this time that I was hanging out with someone who was able to buy weed because I wasn't the legal age in Washington yet, but had already been smoking for about a year before going out to college. So they were getting me very good things and things that I could specifically ask for certain kind of vibes. And I just wanted something that was like, like, ooh, makes you think. I smoked a lot of it. And I kind of walked out of that night being like, I'm not a guy. And I don't think I've ever really been a guy, because I've never really gotten along with guys. I've gotten usually better along with like girls or men who were queer, or just people who were more open to just ideas of whatever. Like, those were always my homies. Those were always the people that I would have like conversations with until like 4 or 5 o'clock in the morning. So I walked out of that being like, maybe, no, I'm definitely not a guy. And that kind of started me down a path of not really knowing what I wanted to be and using just the hard term of non-binary for a little while. And at the time, I feel like definitely was a more inline descriptor of me, what I was feeling, because I was very very shatterbrained, and I soon came to find that that's also from a personality disorder, which I'm not gonna say much about, just to mention that there's a personality disorder. So if there's ever things in my videos, such as this one, where it's like, hey, why did this very long video get posted at 5 o'clock in the morning on a Thursday? So, but it started me down a path, met more people, started to have feelings for, people. A lot of other impactful moments in my life of, like having certain conversations with my parents and being more of an individual. I think I started to find a little bit more about who and what I wanted to be and what I was, what I stood for. I guess everything that was just about me that I hadn't really allowed myself to form. And it was around, it was around 2020, I think, when things really started lining into place. And I think one of the biggest catalysts of them all was there were protests going on that year, for anyone who doesn't know. And to avoid certain things on YouTube and or share certain people who will intentionally search for these kinds of phrases to be anywhere, there was, there were events happening in 2020, and I remember the same friend who kind of opened up the ideas of non-binary and what gender actually means and what the fuck is my gender. There was the same person who got me started on, really thinking about the kind of weed that I was smoking and putting into my body and how it affected me and how just anything I put into my body affected me. They were also the one who, once the protests of that year had started, had asked me if I wanted to go down and join in on them. And I said yeah, like immediately, because for a very long time, even back when I would consider myself just a Democrat, which was like so far prior to 2019, like it was like maybe, I think the last time I had said I was a Democrat was like 2017, 2016, 2016 probably sounds the most right there. That like, even during those times, seeing all the other movements that had gone on during those time periods and all the other times where cops have done just crimes to people, primarily people of color, primarily queer people of color, primarily trans queer people of color throughout their histories. That's so crazy that there's that kind of a pattern there. That the second that it was offered to me to be able to go, I knew like if I didn't take that opportunity, I would hate myself for like life, because I was someone who was able to do that, and despite being a couple of the things that the police hate, still having a very large advantage over people, that being that I am white. So, by the way, white people, if you're out there, first of all, we gotta stop calling ourselves white. That's not a race. That's not like a heritage. We're just a whole different conversation. Good to use for now, though, because it unifies us. But like, white people go out and do things because when we go out and do things, there's a very less likely chance that we will be penalized for it, or at the very least, it'll be second guessed, or at the even more least, whoever records it, the public, because of how fucked up just media is in general and how information is given out, it'll probably get more traction, and that is horrible. It's a god awful, but it's the truth. So please, if there's ever like a thing, a protest, just any kind of event, any kind of support that is out there, even if it's like a donate to me kind of thing and you don't have the money, at least retweet it or some shit, or skeet it, because let's be real, blue skies probably where we're all headed. Anyway, off topic. It was offered to me. I immediately went down. I have nightmares, and I have flashbacks, and loud noises scare me, and probably permanent tinnitus. Because while, some people during that time period that I was close to had gone down with me for a couple of them, or for a couple of days in a row, there became a certain point where I think I was kind of the only one left who was going down. I had lost my job. It was COVID. I had already was thinking, while other peers were taking classes over the summer to prioritize their education, I did not think that was what was important. I still don't. Still would choose to do the same exact fucking thing that I did. So not only did that really kind of like solidify a part of me that I knew, which was like, I always want to do what's right. I also kind of solidified a part of me that was like, I always want to do what I want to do. Like, I should need to stop living my life in fear of what others want to do. I can't be basing it off of other people's decisions. Like, if I stopped going down the amount of times that I did, like, who knows what could happen. Like, even just having that one extra just body kind of shit. I'm making this too much about that. Point being, it was a very impactful point in my life where it kind of just made me feel better about being who I was, because who I was someone that I liked at that point, or it was at least in the process of really liking. And then, how the story goes. You do some hallucinogenics, this is my story. How my story personally goes is I started doing hallucinogenics. It was offered to me, ironically enough, by the same person who had done all these other things. These were all chance encounters, by the way, with this person, and I loved that. It was little moments where the chaos of the universe perfectly overlapped with me and another person that just helped me down the right fucking path, because they offered to give me their mushrooms that they didn't want anymore because they tripped and listened to like a certain artist and just had a bad trip, and they're like, do you want them? And I was like, yes, because I had always made a deal to myself since I had started smoking weed that mushrooms were something that I had wanted to do, but I would only do them when the time was right, and I could not go out and seek them. They would just have to be offered, because everyone told me high school growing up that like drugs were just going to be offered to me all the time, but they never were. But this was the one time where it did, so I took them. I had the best fucking night of my life, and I cried deeply, I screamed, and I looked up at the fucking stars and just had made a lot of realizations as to what was making me the way that I was and how I was going to go about changing them. And one of the biggest things was realizing that like I see my own body as hell, that I was so uncomfortable in my own body that every day was everlasting torture and punishment. And for all the depictions across any kind of, religious, spiritual text throughout any kind of civilization that had formed these or had this idea of just everlasting agony, I finally understood that from the sense of like, that is what it feels like for me, looking the way that I look, being who I am, having certain things about my body not really match certain things and how I feel, understanding a little bit more on how I felt about that, and kind of coming to terms with a lot of things that hadn't really made sense to me before in the past, that had just kind of clicked. And it was a very big moment to when I started adding that trans femme, because that's kind of, for a while, I said I was they them, and I was fine looking the way that I looked, and I wasn't. And it came down to understanding that I wanted, in the sense of how society looks at certain body structures now, I wanted more feminine features, wider parts and larger parts, and still wanting to keep some of those other things, still keeping that sense of gender questionable, not really agreeing with the way that we look at gender and what it is now, but also being like, well, if I have to abide by some gender roles, then I might as well have these, because these are nicer than what I have. Like chest hair, I still fuck with chest hair, and that's primarily looked at masculine, but my chest hair's soft, and I like it. And sometimes I like my facial hair when it's softer. Sometimes it comes in like barbed wire, and I want to skin my fucking, just take all my skin off. And those aren't normal. That's not normal to think. But normal in the sense of being like, you shouldn't at base as a human being want to be doing those things to your body. You should be able to feel and express and show yourself how you should. And I did not feel like I could do that. So that was around the time when trans for me started getting used, because I would say I was non-binary, and I would be like, yeah, well, I guess, in a way I'm trans, but I don't want to take away, from people who are doing certain things. Like, I don't want to take away from trans, which is silly, because labels are silly. But sometimes it feels good to put them on yourself. And so that was a big one, because around that time, I don't remember if it was exactly when. It's not like I trip and like have had these trips or trip myself and immediately am like, wow, that's what it is. Like, I trip, and then for like the next couple of days my brain's just like pondering the thoughts that I had, and thinking on it, and having those moments where I'm sober and just like really processing it without having to be on things that are making me see like fairies and magic portals. So, but yeah, that was a pretty good trip, because it ended up really pushing me down that path of being trans. And I feel like I would have definitely gotten here without it. And this is not to say that everyone should go out and do mushrooms, although I'm not saying that. But I do think, for me personally, that was a very impactful moment. It was a very, the way in which the hallucinogenic reacted just really kind of gave me some clarity. From that point on, I just kind of really started doing some minor experimentation, wearing more form-fitting clothing, expanding my inventory a little bit back when I had money. Trying to put like nail polish. I know for Halloween one time I, put on, like lipstick and actual makeup and a very slutty JoJo outfit that was made from bargain bin shit. But the point being, I had started really experimenting, allowing myself to kind of just go and do things. And if it felt comfortable, I knew. If it felt uncomfortable, I also knew. And I think just over time, it kind of got built up more and more and more. And about, I would say about 4 years ago. So this is still like 2019 is around the time I think the thoughts had finally had begun hitting in my consciousness of like thoughts that I was having, but I wasn't really comfortable with like being like, yes, that's what the plan is, that's what I need, this is what I am. That wasn't until 2020. But back in 2019, I definitely had fucking trans thoughts of being like, I want to be on hormones, I want to look more fucking feminine, like I do not like my masculine body. And I was just like, nah, but I'm fine in my masculine body. I'm they them, but and I'm just gonna be like this, and I'll just be skinny, and I'll just stop eating to get there. So instead of now doing that, I flash forward to 2021. I met my current and my most loving and my understanding and the love of my life partner, which is not an actual one, but the placement of it should tell you where we're at in our gay romance. Met him and have just never felt more comfortable with another human being. And it was at a time and where I was coming off of having a fixated person, which is another little spoiler to what my little personality disorder might be, you crazy little internet fucks. Anyone who wants to go on their little Google search journey and piece that one together a little bit more. But no, I met him and just kicked it off. Saw each other pretty much every day immediately, because just the comfortability. And I think looking back on these last couple of years to where I am today, were it not for him allowing me to express myself even more so than some people I've had in the past, and giving me that ability to regain trust in doing that with people and knowing that I'm not going to be called like slurs, definitely helped me get me to where I am now. Because where I am now, to put labels out there, which once again, there's always going to be that part of me that will say labels are silly and they're unneeded, but sometimes they make me feel all giddy. So my labels are trans, femme, non-binary. I use they, them, she, her, although more recently have been debating using she, her, they, them, putting that in the primary slot there. Just fucking around with that for a little bit. My full name, well, what will be my full name, because I'm proud of it and I want people to know it. Actually, no, I don't. But I'll say my first two. I won't tell you what the last name is for a while. You'll have to find me on my other socials for that. Is Ash Lilith, and I like being called by either. And more recently, people calling me Lilith has been making me very happy. But like Ash still sounds fucking awesome. Like, oh, I love Ash. So many good Ashes in fiction. So many good Ashes. I'm a fantastic Ash. And the way that I thought about it, oh, what a story. Weed ash falling on me in the middle of a mushroom trip. But, trans, femme, non-binary. Actually, it's probably more like trans, femme, genderqueer at this point. Or gender fluid. No. That's the fun part. That second part's fun. I get to fuck around with that second part because it really is like the ones that are like, well, gender is silly. But that first one, trans femme, that's the big one. and then you get that little bit of they, them. And I'm a month and, oh, actually, because it's September 21st. I started August 4th, 2023 on hormones. So, however much time that's been, we're approaching heading 2 months soon. So yeah, that's where I'm at. What I want to start doing on this channel is just whatever I really want to do. The big things I'm thinking of now is cooking. I want to do cooking videos for the working class. Not only like things and where it's like stuff that you can make really fast, like say you're going to work and you woke up late or you missed your alarm, or you gotta hit the bus, or whatever the case may be, just something that you can do really fast and still get like a lot of, you know, hunger resolved out of. Stuff that you can like make in mass for really cheap. And then just whatever the fuck else cooking wise that I really want to do. I really like cooking and I want to start experimenting more with that, because I've been really good for a while and I feel like I'm hitting a bit of a plateau when it comes to my meals. And fuck it, why not just post some of them up here, because some of them look fucking banger. See, more confident in myself. I gotta be proud of me. More of that. Some games. I do want to play some games specifically to record. I do really like funny Destiny moment shit, since I'm always playing that. And I do have a lot of clips up on Twitch, which also have some of those things that I was talking about earlier that I'm not super proud of. Actually, I'm super proud of it. I should do the YouTuber. Not super proud of it. I'm genuinely not proud of them. Like, it very much is like, wow, that is so much internalized hate for myself. That just gets thrown back into my face every time I hear it. But I've got some nice clips that I'm like, I can probably throw those into a video. But I also want to just like do some more solo stuff, because I have been enjoying challenging myself more in certain games, because I don't know, it comes more with that confidence thing of like, oh, I can do this. And then I don't know, I guess whatever else I want to do, maybe some more long form stuff, maybe going off on fixations since I'm autistic as shit. Whatever the case may be, I want to start doing stuff back on the internet a little bit more, because I figured, fuck it, why not? Shit's just always gonna be shit, so might as well pick a hobby. And making a fool of myself on the internet, I'm sure, is a fun enough hobby to do sometimes. So hope whoever watches this enjoys my ramblings. I'm probably gonna name it some trans shit, to you know, let people know what kind of video this is, because you know, I'm sure being gone for such a long time now when it comes to posting on YouTube and then just dropping a 40-minute video doesn't look great. So I'm sure I will find some way to make it dictated that, hey, this is a update on a couple of things, sort of thing. So yeah, thank you for tuning into my 5 o'clock in the morning trans ramblings, and I hope whatever it is that I put out, whenever it is that I put out, you will also watch and enjoy, internet. I'm gonna either attempt to go to sleep or start binge watching Adventure Time again. Have a good one.